Losing a spouse doesn't just break your heart, it can shatter your sense of direction overnight. One moment you're sharing decisions, routines, and dreams, and the next you're alone, staring at paperwork, bank accounts, insurance policies, and questions you never imagined facing. In that fog of grief, it feels natural to act quickly, to make big financial decisions in the hope that change will ease the pain. But here lies one of the greatest traps of loss. Choices made in the heat of sorrow often create regrets that linger for years. Many widows and widowers sell homes, cash out investments, or give away money too soon, only to realize later that they weren't ready. Grief clouds judgment, and what seems like a solution today may become tomorrow's burden. The wisest step you can take in those early months is to pause, breathe, and resist the pressure to make irreversible financial moves. Because your future deserves clarity, not decisions born out of heartbreak. If this message already resonates with you, please subscribe and support our channel. It helps us keep creating meaningful videos like this one. And now, a question for you. If faced with loss, would you choose A, act quickly to change your situation, or B, wait patiently before making big decisions? Comment your answer below. After the shock of financial pressure comes something even more silent and dangerous, the pull of isolation. When you lose the person who was your daily companion, the one who shared every meal, every laugh, and every quiet evening, the world suddenly feels hollow. The empty chair at the table, the silence in the bedroom, the absence in routine, they all whisper a cruel message. Stay away, retreat, protect yourself from the noise of a world that no longer feels whole. And so many do. They stop answering calls, decline invitations, and let days blur into nights behind closed curtains. At first, solitude feels like safety, a private space to grieve without the weight of other people's questions or pity. But what begins as protection can quietly turn into a prison. Studies show that prolonged isolation doesn't just deepen sadness, it weakens the immune system, raises blood pressure, and shortens life expectancy. The absence of connection becomes not just an emotional wound, but a physical threat. It is in these moments of retreat that grief transforms into something heavier: loneliness that settles into your bones and convinces you that no one could possibly understand. Yet human beings were never meant to carry suffering alone. Even in grief, the body and spirit are wired for connection. Consider the story of Walter, a man who lost his wife of over 50 years. He stopped answering the phone. He declined every family gathering, telling himself he wasn't ready. Days slipped into weeks, weeks into months, and instead of healing, he sank further into exhaustion. His appetite changed, his energy withered, and his once bright spark dulled. Then, one afternoon, a neighbor knocked on his door and insisted he come over for coffee. That single moment, as small as it seemed, shifted everything. Coffee turned into a weekly ritual, the weekly ritual into conversation, and conversation into laughter. The grief remained, but it no longer sat on his shoulders alone. This is the paradox of loss. While you may crave distance, it is connection that softens the weight. You don't need to force yourself into crowded rooms or grand social gestures. Healing begins with small steps: picking up the phone when your daughter calls, sitting on the porch and greeting a neighbor, joining a support group where others carry the same kind of pain. Sometimes, even just listening in silence as others share their stories reminds you that grief has many faces, and yours is not alone among them. Pushing people away may feel like the easiest choice, especially when well-meaning friends stumble over their words or try to offer advice that doesn't touch the depth of your sorrow. But understand this: their imperfect presence is still a gift. You don't need perfect words, you don't need solutions. You need witnesses to your grief, people who stand beside you in the silence, reminding you that you are still part of life, still seen, still valued. Healing is not about forgetting the one you lost. It is about learning to live without shutting yourself off from the world that still waits for you. Every small connection you allow becomes a lifeline, not just for survival, but for rediscovering moments of unexpected joy. In the beginning, joy may feel like betrayal, but in truth, it is proof that love has not died, it has simply taken a new form. The laughter you share with a friend, the warmth of a hug, the comfort of a familiar voice on the other end of the line, these are not replacements for what you lost, but reminders that love can continue to meet you in new ways. So resist the temptation to disappear into grief's silence. Let others in, even just a little. The path of healing is not one you are meant to walk alone, and every step you take back toward connection is a step back toward life itself. Grief has a way of stealing not only your joy, but also the simple routines that once kept you grounded. When a spouse is gone, self-care often slips quietly out of reach. Meals are skipped because food has lost its meaning. Sleep becomes restless as memories replay through the night, and doctors' visits are postponed because facing the future feels unbearable. For some, even walking outside or exercising seems pointless without the partner who once shared those moments. Yet neglecting yourself is not a sign of love or loyalty. It is a hidden danger that makes grief harder to bear. The truth is that grief affects the body as much as the heart. Scientists have long documented the widowhood effect, a real rise in health risks following the loss of a spouse. Blood pressure climbs, the immune system weakens, and energy levels plummet. When routines collapse, the body begins to mirror the sorrow within, leaving you even less capable of coping. This is why taking care of yourself is not selfish. It is essential to survival. Consider James, 81, who stopped cooking after his wife's passing. At first, he told himself he wasn't hungry, settling for crackers or processed snacks. Over time, fatigue and weakness set in until even simple tasks drained him. Only when his daughter encouraged him to prepare small, nourishing meals, soups, fruit, a bit of protein did his strength return. It didn't erase the grief, but it gave him the stamina to endure it. That is what self-care does. It doesn't remove the pain, but it makes carrying it possible. Food is only one part of the equation. Movement, even in its gentlest form, becomes medicine. A slow walk in the evening air, a few stretches in the morning sun, or tending a garden helps release tension stored in the body. Exercise does not erase loss, but it offers the body a way to breathe again, to remember that life still moves forward. Some find comfort in group activities, walking clubs, gentle yoga, or community classes where healing comes not only through movement, but also through quiet companionship. Equally critical is medical care. In the fog of grief, it's easy to cancel appointments or forget medications, yet this is when your health most needs attention. Regular checkups and monitoring of existing conditions act as anchors, keeping you safe while you find your footing again. Neglecting them can create crises that deepen sorrow and rob you of strength when you need it most. And then there is the mind. Grief can look like depression, filling each day with exhaustion and hopelessness. Reaching for support, a counselor, a grief group, or simply a trusted friend does not weaken you. It strengthens you. Speaking your pain out loud, hearing the voices of others who understand, can bring a measure of comfort that isolation never can. Your spouse would not want you to fade away alongside them. They would want you to live, to take care of yourself, to carry their memory forward with vitality. Honoring them does not mean collapsing under sorrow. It means nourishing your body, calming your mind, and giving yourself permission to heal. To eat, to move, to rest, and to seek support is to choose life, even in the shadow of loss. It is a choice that transforms grief from something that destroys you into something you learn, slowly, to live with. And in that choice, you open the possibility of peace not instead of love, but because of it. When the heart has been broken by loss, loneliness seeps in like an uninvited guest, pressing on every empty corner of life. After years, even decades of sharing meals, laughter, and the rhythm of everyday existence, the silence becomes unbearable. It is in that silence that many widows and widowers feel an urgent pull toward companionship. The thought of a new relationship begins to seem like the only way to escape the ache, to fill the void, to steady the unbalanced life left behind. And while the longing for closeness is deeply human, rushing into love too soon can create a storm of new sorrows, sorrows that could have been spared with time, patience, and healing. The danger is not in seeking love again, but in seeking it from a place of desperation. In the early months of grief, emotions are raw, judgment is clouded, and the desire to replace what was lost is powerful. Many find themselves drawn into relationships not because they are ready, but because they fear loneliness. In this fragile state, it is easy to confuse temporary comfort with lasting connection. What begins with intensity often unravels into confusion, guilt, and regret. Some even feel torn between the memory of their spouse and the presence of someone new, caught in a cycle of comparing, doubting, and second-guessing their choices. Take Barbara, who lost her husband after nearly 50 years of marriage. Just months later, she began dating a friend of a friend. At first, it was a relief to have someone to talk to, someone to share meals with, someone who made the silence less sharp. But soon, she realized she was not ready. Every conversation carried the shadow of comparison. Every gesture reminded her of what she had lost. What she had rushed into as comfort began to feel like another trap. The relationship ended, leaving her with even more pain to unravel. In hindsight, she wished she had given herself the grace of time before stepping into something new. This is not to say that love has no place after loss. Many widows and widowers eventually find deep, meaningful relationships later in life. But the healthiest bonds form when the heart has been given space to breathe again, when grief has softened enough to allow genuine connection rather than a desperate escape. Love born from healing is steady, patient, and strong. Love born from panic is fragile, easily broken, and often harmful. There is also the reality of vulnerability. Grief makes people targets. Sadly, there are those who prey on the loneliness of the bereaved scammers, opportunists, and even acquaintances who see vulnerability as an opening for exploitation. If someone pressures you to commit quickly, to share financial information, or to distance yourself from your support system, those are red flags that cannot be ignored. Trust is built over time, never in haste. Choosing not to rush does not mean you must live alone forever. It simply means honoring your own pace, allowing yourself to rediscover who you are outside the identity you shared with your spouse. Grief strips life down to its barest bones, but within that emptiness lies the chance to rebuild, not to replace, but to reimagine. Learning to enjoy your own company again, to nurture friendships, to find meaning in solitary moments, creates a stronger foundation for any relationship you might embrace in the future. If love does find its way back into your life, let it be because you are ready, not because you are afraid. Let it be born out of clarity, not out of the desperate need to quiet the ache. When that time comes, you will know, because instead of feeling like an escape from loneliness, it will feel like a natural extension of the life you have already begun to rebuild. Grief will always remain a part of you, but it does not need to dictate your choices. Waiting allows you to step into something new with peace, confidence, and the freedom to love without guilt. In the end, there is no rule book for when or how to open your heart again. Only you can decide. But remember, time is not your enemy. It is your ally, giving you the chance to heal so that any future love can be embraced not as a replacement, but as a new chapter one that coexists with the memory of the person you will never stop carrying in your heart. One of the hardest battles after losing a spouse is not fought in public, but in the quiet corners of your own home. Every item they touched, every piece of clothing, every photo on the wall carries weight far heavier than its physical form. Their shoes by the door, their favorite chair, the jacket still hanging in the closet, these objects whisper reminders of a life that feels both near and impossibly distant. Many widows and widowers cling to everything, terrified that letting go of even a single item will erase the bond they shared. But holding on to every possession indefinitely can trap you in grief, turning your home into a shrine of sorrow rather than a place of comfort. Grief convinces you that clearing a closet is the same as forgetting, that moving a chair is the same as betraying. Yet the truth is different. Love is not contained in objects, and memories do not live inside material things. They live in you and your heart, your stories, your breath, and your steps forward. Keeping everything untouched often anchors you to the past so tightly that you cannot step into tomorrow. Healing requires space, and sometimes that means choosing what stays and what gently leaves. Harold, a 76-year-old man, learned this the hard way. After his wife passed, he refused to move a single belonging. Her side of the bed remained untouched, her toothbrush still in the cup, her shoes waiting by the door as though she might walk back in. For months, he told himself it was a way to honor her, to keep her close. But each day became heavier, the house more suffocating. Every time he walked into a room, he felt not comfort but paralysis, as though time itself had stopped. When he finally began to sort through her things, keeping a few meaningful treasures while donating others, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: relief. Not because the grief was gone, but because he had made space for both memory and healing to live side by side. Letting go does not have to mean erasing. It can mean transforming. A favorite shirt can become part of a quilt, Letters can be gathered into a memory book. Jewelry can be passed down to children or grandchildren who will carry that legacy forward. In this way, the belongings are not discarded, they are reborn, carrying the spirit of your spouse into the lives of others. This process is not about loss, but about continuation. Of course, the timing is deeply personal. No one should push you to clear belongings before you are ready. Grief is not a schedule, and healing cannot be forced. If the thought of parting with items feels unbearable, start small. Choose 1 or 2 keepsakes that carry the most meaning and place them somewhere sacred in your home. Allow yourself to live with both presence and absence, learning gradually that the essence of love cannot be boxed or stored. It lives far beyond what can be held in your hands. The danger lies in holding on to everything out of fear, guilt, or obligation. When the home becomes frozen in time, it can prevent you from creating new memories, new rhythms, and new joy. Moving forward does not mean moving away from the person you loved. It means carrying them with you, not through clutter and relics, but through the strength and wisdom they left behind. In the end, letting go is not about forgetting. It is about making space for healing, for peace, for the possibility of life after loss. It is about allowing your home and your heart to reflect not just what has ended, but what still remains. Love, memory, and the quiet courage to keep living. By releasing what keeps you stuck, you honor the life you shared and create room for the life still waiting to be lived.